it's big honor for me to meet with you and share actually about our conflict and peace studies program in Gadjah Mada. I'm engaged with Center for Security and Peace Studies, which I engaged with since very early, I think in 1996. And then also I'm also now teaching in the Department of Sociology, where we have undergrad, graduate, and also doctorate program. But actually the subject of conflict and reconciliation just taught in undergrad and master program. Beside that, we in Gadjah Mada are also having a special program on master on peace and conflict resolution program in Gadjah Mada, where actually a separate program part of the graduate program of Gadjah Mada. So there are several kind of program in Gadjah Mada, which actually teaching about the issue of conflict, of violent peace and conflict resolution kind of. So in this opportunity, I think I will focusing especially on the undergrad subject, which is I taught this subject for quite a long time, I think about 10 or 15 years ago, in tandem with Dr. Lambang Triyono. So I will share actually a sort of syllabus briefly, explaining actually about some issue and some topic we are discussing in our program. One more, I think I would like to add one thing, that I and we actually also involved in a group of university, what it's called as Global Peace Campus Program, initiated by Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, especially led by Professor Kenji Isezaki from Tokyo University of Foreign Studies. Usually before pandemic, we are gathering in each of a country. The network is actually consists of Tokyo, and then Gadjah Mada, and then Panasastra University in Cambodia, and then Paradenia in Sri Lanka, and then there are 2 or 3 more in India and in Pakistan. And also this actually Global Peace Campus of program is actually also initiated around 10 or 15 years ago, quite the similar time. Okay, let me share actually the subject, what is the kind of syllabus of our teaching. So we put the title Sociology of Conflict and Reconciliation for the undergrad program. And this is also the program delivered in English. Yeah. So this is what it's called in our campus as immersion program. Immersion program means the subject is for our student, but also for foreigners who come to Gadjah Mada, and he just limited capability in bahasa, in Indonesia bahasa. So this subject is delivered in English, and usually also participated by several students from overseas. Yeah, so blended with our local student. So this is used to be one of the quite favorite actually subject for foreigners in Indonesia. So as I mentioned before, Dr. Lambang is part of the teaching group, also with Nurul Aini. So this is actually the short description of the subject. The syllabus is actually designed to guide the course of Sociology of Conflict and Reconciliation for the undergrad student of the Faculty of Social and Political Sciences at Gadjah Mada. The main focus will be study contemporary issues of conflict and peace building from a transformative perspective. The conflict and peace trend and dynamic and the building of appropriate peacemaking and building strategy to resolve the conflict will be elaborated in the course, including in post-conflict region, by linking peace, development, and democratic approach and framework to achieve sustainable peace. A critical and transformational approach of methodological views will guide the learning process of the course, based on the cases of conflict and peace-building practices drawn from many regions, not only Indonesia, but also in Southeast Asia and other regions. The courses facilitate students to discuss and elaborate the cases and draw lessons that can be learned for better conflict analysis and peace-building practices. The courses is not only oriented to knowledge and knowledge-based development, but also oriented to building capacities and skill to analyze conflict and define practical and policy responses and intervention for peacemaking, peace building, reconciliation, and conflict transformation. The syllabi frames the overall learning process to carry out the course to enhance student capacities and skill to comprehend conflict and peace-building theories and practical conflict transformation and reconciliation, combining various methods and lecture and learning process of theoretical and practices exercises, such as presentation, group classification, role-playing, active learning through individual and group tasks. Students will be facilitated to reach better understanding and skill in conflict analysis and defining peace-building strategies for better conflict prevention and peace building from conflict transformation and reconciliation perspective. Objective of the course is mainly aimed to facilitate students to comprehend contemporary issues of conflict and peace building from conflict transformation and reconciliation perspective. Through this course, it is expected that students would not only have a better understanding about conflict and peace building theories, but also have capacities and skill to manage and transform conflict in long-term perspective of sustainable peace and reconciliation. This is actually also related with our own experience because of we engage with this issue in Indonesia, especially in late 90s and early 20s, when actually several cases of conflict happen in many areas of Indonesia, such as Maluku, in Poso, and Aceh, and many places, and then it transforming into more issue of peace building cases, peace building issues. That's why we also actually changing a little bit the tone of the subject. So this syllabus is actually has been changing several times, but this is the last one. Method of learning, participatory and active learning process is the main learning methodology used in the course, by assuming that student will be interested to learn the subject if the student concern and experiences are heard and cases are presented to get lessons that can be learned from the cases to comprehend and to develop practical knowledge. Critical and emancipatory knowledge and practical development is used to develop better understanding and practical skill to resolve and transform conflict into sustainable peaceful development and reconciliation. That is kind of evaluation criteria and so on. And this is like the simple short description of the topic, the theme, and if in each of the session and method of delivery, indicators, course component, references, and so on. I will make it shortly here. Introduction, of course, yeah, from the syllabus, class rule, code of conduct, process, scope, and so on. And then first topic is actually about the triangle of conflict, peace, and violence. Yeah, we'll discuss conflict, peace, and violence conceptually and from different, let's say, aspect. Yeah, and understanding conflict and reconciliation. Contemporary issues of conflict and peace building. Yeah, we talk about some cases of Indonesia, but also in Southeast Asia. We put there also cases of, for example, ethnic and religious conflict in Southeast Asia, cases and resolution, and so on. And then conflict analysis, conflict, violence, peace dimension. Yeah, explore dimension of conflict, violence, and peace by conflict, violence, and peace analysis. We use Johan Carlton Peace and By Peaceful Means as one of the important reading actually. It will be identified and discuss personal, structural, cultural dimension, violence, and peace, and so on. The next session is we bring students to the issue to attention to the cases of conflict mapping. Yeah, context to alternative conflict resolution. Yeah, we'll discuss method of conflict mapping that help to capture the complexity of conflict, including analysis of context, actors, interests, issues, stakeholders of conflict, dynamic, alternative conflict resolution, and so on. Yeah, through a student group presentation and so on. Yeah, we use PowerWare among the references, and then also conflict mapping presentation by student. We sometimes actually bring student to go to visit, to kind of site visit in surrounding Yogyakarta. Yeah, there are some cases of sometimes let's say natural cases, conflict, or kind of related conflict with the tourism also happening in some area. So yeah, usually students quite happy to go to the field to have a short visit, discussing in the ground, also bring back the cases to the class. The next one about peace, peacemaking, peace building. Yeah, discuss the basic concept of peace, peacemaking, peace building, and relevant and appropriate peace strategies chosen to respond and intervene to the conflict. Yeah, also kind of discussion presentation. And then the issue of conflict resolution and conflict prevention. Yeah, we use among others Yujmail and others references. Conflict prevention and peace building practices, cases and lessons learned, yeah, from various reading. This section explore and discuss experiences of conflict prevention and peace building practices to get lesson to learn to prevent violent conflict and promote peace building. The next one, session 10 on conflict transformation and reconciliation. Yeah, we elaborate peacemaking and peace building strategies from specific approach of conflict transformation and reconciliation perspective, linking between peacemaking, peace building, transformation, and reconciliation, and how to defend peace gaps for conflict prevention and peace building responses. Then the next session will be about conflict, post-conflict reconstruction and peace building. We'll elaborate practical cases of conflict prevention and peace building, especially in post-conflict region. Yeah, will be presented in the class, for the class. Based on the cases, how to define peace capacities and peace vulnerabilities, and windows opportunities for conflict prevention and peace building will be explored in the specific session. The next session will be about building sustainable peace and democracy. The issue of democracy coming in this session because of also our experience in some cases of conflict cases and conflict transformation. It is a critical issue, such as in the case of Aceh, also the case of Maluku and some others. A coherent peace building strategies for the post-conflict region and how to define strategic responses to promote sustainable peaceful development and stable democracy became the main focuses of on this one. The linking between peace, development, and democracy to achieve sustainable peace and stable democracy will be elaborated in the session. Yeah. Also having like group discussion, group division, and so on will be applied here. The next one is really about class discussion on reconciliation and peace building practices, and we'll end up with general overview, stock taking, evaluation, preparation for examination. So this is basically shortly actually one of the syllabus we use for our undergrad program in Gadjah Mada. Of course, as I mentioned before, this have been revised several times. Actually, it's starting, I think, in early or mid of 2000, I think it started. Yeah, so and then it changing several times. Also, we use it differently, of course, for the master program and for another kind of program. But I think this is the general framework of the subject of sociology of conflict and reconciliation taught in Gadjah Mada.
When I talk about like making syllabus or teaching, I'd like to address two issues. The thing is like when we talk about the peace education, we teach peace education in school, but of course like we aim at certain point that to have like education for peace, that we want to incorporate the notion of peace in everyday life, but that we haven't reached it yet. But I'm trying to address how we can reach that point. The thing is like if we talk about peace education, it's like a systematic teaching in the education institutions that I have experience in teaching undergraduate courses, master degree, PhD, and of course like workshop and trainings. Before designing the syllabus, so then I just try to, elaborate, like peace studies, peace research, like from the value of peace, the core value, the definitions of peace, and, like the exploring the notions and trying to see whether peace is the intersubjective, the condition of intersubjective, of peace. So this is like we lay our foundation or principle of teaching peace in this frame. I let undergrad and training later on because I will focus on that, because I think like for the master and the PhD curriculums, many of you are very experienced and expert on this, and many of the students might have already acknowledged, many of the participants might have already acknowledged that. When we design the master degree in peace studies, we proceed for both academic and the practical approaches, which means that we aim that many of our master degree students, some of them might proceed to be academics, and some of them might use the information or the knowledge from the degree in order to work in the field. So then we lay the major courses on the theoretical ground. And then for the free electives, for those who are aiming to be academic, so then they can choose courses that based on more theoretical point of view. And then for those who will aim themselves to be a practitioner, so then we have courses that provide more practical skills or for the practice. And then with the master degree students, we try to incorporate several issues with the current situations from various research projects that the lecturers have. And then of course, like we aim on the multidisciplinary. For the PhD studies, of course, like we try to have the academic approach of, most of them will proceed to be academic, to be lecturers, to be a researcher. So we design that the curriculum is pursuing an academic track, and a lot, because I have quite a lot of background in philosophy. So then we based on several philosophical ground of peace studies based on theories, and then of course, like we used a lot of research approaches, techniques, and tools, and of course on the multidisciplinary fundamental. May I elaborate a little bit more on a philosophical point of view for the peace research? So then we pursue epistemological basis, on finding the certain knowledge based on the ontology, having research for the research for the PhD for like logic, ethics, phenomenology, and hermeneutics. So all of these things would be incorporated in both like the designing of the courses and the research in order to how you call that, make the linkage of what we teach in the class and have them capable for doing the research for their thesis. And of course, like we try to elaborate, like, you know, like how all of those philosophical ground can become the research questions by, you know, explaining more of you know, all of these kind of questions that they could use in order to fulfill, you know, the linkage of academic approaches and the research for their thesis in the PhD programs. I think this is like a master and the PhD courses. And today I want to focus on two things. One thing is about, I just like I mentioned about like in almost master and PhD courses. So we always talk about like teaching peace is a kind of multidisciplinary approach. But the thing is, like in some part of our curriculum, there might right now, I think we might have to consider interdisciplinary approach as well in this new world, you know. And then maybe at certain point, maybe it works with the transdisciplinary approach. So then maybe you might have to consider more when we talk about the multidisciplinary, and maybe we incorporate interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary into our curriculum. I haven't done it by myself yet, but you know, like in master and PhD, but I try a little bit with like trainings and undergraduate courses. Let's see, like when we discuss about undergraduate program, the thing is like one thing that I think that this is quite important, and I use it as a highlight for today, is that I started my teaching in Innsbruck, but mostly in Thailand. I started with Mahidol University, where we have mostly the science students here. And then the peace course is just free elective course. So then we have students enroll in this course for, you know, like from so many other faculties, basically the science faculties. So we have a challenge of having students from various backgrounds, and it is sometimes very difficult for some students to digest what we teach. So moreover, so for those students, there are quite diverse expectations. Of course, like many of the students, when they take the free elective courses, they want to get an A for sure, because this, you know, something that, you know, like outside their major curriculum. So then they want to feel free and relaxed, you know, when you come into the to free elective of, you know, peace study. So we decide on students to have to test something new, something that's different from what they experience from their major curriculum, from what they experience every day. And we try to link everyday life, you know, with the peace notions, and trying to let them see the benefit of the peace studies, you know, and at least one of the objectives is like trying to see their work through the peace studies lens. I have been arguing with many of my peace colleagues in when I was teaching that I decided the curriculum a little bit too easy, and you know, like not very so harsh in the theoretical point of view for the undergraduate courses. I just try to explain to them that you know, because they have very different background. They are not the political science student. They are not, you know, sociology students. So then they get some interest in coming to our course. It's already benefit to us enough, at least to let other, you know, people from various fields to come and test what we have, to come and experience what we have to offer, you know. So then at least we want just them to see the world through the peace studies leg. And then of course, like we have to design the curriculum not to interfere or interrupt their major studies, because like otherwise they will don't really care about like the course that we have, because they want to graduate to be an engineer, to be a scientist, to be a medical science, nurses, or things like that. So then this is like a kind of challenges that we have when we design a peace course in undergraduate level in the science schools. So one of the very thing that I practice very much is that because many of the science students, they have not much capability in writing something very long. So every time when we have like the post classes evaluation, so mostly what I did is to, you can see in the photos here, I always did like, like to link what we teach on that day and let them draw some pictures or some draws pictures and try to elaborate or explain what they think together in the linkages to the thing that we teach on that particular day. I mean, from here you can see that this is about the environmental issues that they have that might link into like structural conflict, structural violence, and all this kind of stuff. And of course, like when there are current issues related to some kind of conflict in the society, so then they try to get all of those current issues in order to elaborate with the theories or the contents that we lecture each day. So I think this is the way that make those who are not very used to with the peace studies to feel more comfortable in learning, the contents of the course. Another thing, the last thing is about like the workshop and the training. The workshop and the training for me, I think it is quite important. And it become more and more important for me because it is the way that we engage. Of course, like we have workshops and trainings for academics, but mostly I'm talking here is the workshop and trainings for those who are the practitioners. So it is the way that we can engage with the public. We can just get out from the space of the university that we are around. We have to decide that the curriculum is very easy to digest. You can have various topics, you can go into the detail like nonviolence, communication, trying to have like peaceful demonstration, nonviolence practices, nonviolence approach, so many kind of things that you can incorporate, in order to pursue, the notion of peace, violence, conflict, human rights, democratization, and all these issues that are related to the current issues. We offer tools and techniques to the practitioners, okay, and we can have more creativity beyond the static curriculum that it is used commonly in the university. But the thing is, like when we do this kind of workshops and trainings for the public, it is a kind of long-term engagement, which means that there might be a lot of repeated, workshops, repeated at least, like gathering around with those groups of people, because like these people are the people who are really working in the field. And then we might have some experience. I used to have some experience talking about the indications of the success and the failure in the short term. So then we might be able to expect a long-term indication. So when we talk about the workshop and trainings for the public, you can see in these two photos, it is about, on this thing is about like democratic, workshops. I mean, most of them. And then I chose these two photos because at the end, many of them, I mean, most of the people who are engaged in these workshops have been the leaders of the demonstrations in the past few years. I'm not sure whether it is a good or the result of the trainings, but at least we can make some input for, being a very useful resources for them to use in their daily life. So then I think apart from the PhD, master, undergraduate, I think workshops and the trainings could be used as a promotion of the peace studies. So I think this is all for my presentation today. Thank you.
I will explain the course syllabus that I teaches every year, peace and conflict. But I must inform you, this is a master level of program. So participants of this course are mostly from master, and there are some students from PhD program every year. And because my university employed 3-semester system, there are 12 classes in each semester, and this syllabus is designed to do 12 classes, and each class is for 90 minutes. So similar with our sessions. And the students who participate in these programs are diverse from different parts of the world. Many of them are funded by the Japanese Ministry of Education scholarship or Japan International Cooperation Agency program, a JICA program. So they actually come from their, on behalf of their country as a government officer. And some students like from China and Japan are mostly newly graduated students who just got bachelor's degree. So the students' capacity are extremely diverse. Some have quite a good experience with good knowledge on peace and conflict, while others have no knowledge on that. So I set the 2 objectives in this course. First is, as we did in this program, first, the purpose is to get them know the terms, concept, theories, and framework commonly employed in peace and conflict studies or research. And the second is to learn how to apply those theories and conceptual understanding to understand actual conflict cases or peace building or peace operation context. And the third one is more or less to inspire them to develop their own idea, what kind of peace they want to achieve and what kind of activities are necessary to achieve the peace that they wish to achieve. So I don't set so much ambitious objectives, but the main point is the second objective, to apply theory and knowledge that they obtained in this course to study, to understand, to analyze the actual cases of conflict. And to assess the students' performance, I set 2 requirements. First, presentation and participation, and also essay. This is largely because at the end of the program, they have to write a master dissertation. So I request them to write an essay. And the presentation is set in order for them to do a group work, to apply theory into practice or analysis of practice. So make small groups among the students. And in each group, they decide what case they study. So at the end of this course, students are asked to present those case analysis that they did in the group. And then if I look at the course structure, I divide the course into 3 parts. And first part is about knowledge, concept, theories on conflict and a bit of peace. So by attending part 1, they can obtain those basic concept, notion, theories relevant to peace and conflict. And the second part is to study actual cases around the world. Some students study ongoing cases while others study their own country's case. For instance, in last year in this course, there were students from Mozambique, Afghanistan, Timor-Leste, China, Japan, US, Iran. So they study their own country case or other cases that they are interested in. And study also about peace operations undertaken by the UN. Because as I said, many participants are government officers. So they would like to know what international or UN context of peace operation includes and what they are and what are the critical perspective on those international peace building. And the last part is to review the entire theory concept from their own perspective. As I said, many students come from non-European, non-North American students. So the theory developed in Europe and North America may not explain well about their own regional context. So participants of this course explore existing theory from their own case study and critically review existing theory knowledge that we have. So each course I set a particular theme on which they at least read one reading assignment. And those who have additional time and capacity, they can read more books. In order to do so, I attach longer list of references in the first class. But for this syllabus, I pick up only 1 or 2 readings required to read in advance so that they prepare for the class. The structure itself is similar with actually this session. First, we try to understand peace and conflict as a concept and apply conflict analysis tools in order to understand the actual conflict. And for last year, I used one video clip that study how policymakers in the Vietnam War came to decide the policy. There was a dialogue between Vietnamese political leaders and US political leaders in the 1990s. And there's documentary video, so we watch and review and discuss. And the second part, it's about international peace building, and the students are asked to do a small presentation about what international organization or donor governments are doing in post-conflict countries. And then look at disarmament, demobilization, reintegration, and SSR. And then explore relationship between peace and development, or peace building and development. This is one of the issues that many students are interested in, particularly those students from Africa. And then we look at the role of private sector, which become more and more important nowadays. And class 9 is psychosocial recovery, as we study truth, justice, and reconciliation are introduced. And then last part is about critical perspective on peace building. We critically review existing theory and concept knowledge all together. And at the end of the course, students are asked to do a presentation about one particular case that is ongoing or finished in the past. And this is the overall structure, but my approach to this class is, because it's a master program, I try not to overteach. That's the first thing. And the second thing is because students come from different parts of the world and some have good experience in the field. So I try to ask participants to share their experience and their country's experience of peace and conflict. So resources are available, not in me, but in all participants. And I try to draw those resources from different countries in order to enrich the class and also in order to facilitate our understanding of theories and the concept of peace and conflict. So overall, try to bridge theory and practice. That's all from me. Thank you.
I will not only talk about the program that the course syllabus that we have been presenting in this particular session, but I will go into the whole program and our whole approach, in regards to teaching peace and doing peace education at our university. So title of my presentation is Dream Keepers. We start with why peace education. This is like a rationale why we do peace education over here. Contribute to greater understanding of possibilities of harmonious development of human communities within the global context, and then necessary to consider alternatives to violence as a means of resolving problems and conflicts. To promote commitment to social and economic justice and tolerance and appreciation for diversity of cultures, and to assist students to gain knowledge and experience in the peaceful resolution of conflict, and to assist students in developing communication skills and gaining an understanding of and respect for others. So this is basically the same, more or less the same kind of approach that all of us are doing, that we are using peace education as a way, to expose the students, and to inspire them, to find, better ways of resolving situations within their own society. Peace education is to sharpen awareness about the existence of conflict between people and within and between nations, investigates the causes of conflict and violence embedded with the perceptions, values, and attitudes of individuals, as well as within the social, political, and economic structures of society, and encourages the search for alternatives, including non-violent solutions and the development of skills necessary for their implementation. So our approach has always been not only to think about the theoretical, the philosophical aspects, but also the practice part, the practice part. And we also agree, this is in our source book, Holistic Framework of Peace Education, and you can read this in our source book. This is by To Sui Hin and Virginia Floresa Kawagas, and their framework for peace education is looking at this, all these petals that you have here, and dismantling the culture of war, living with compassion and justice, building cultural respect, reconciliation and solidarity, promoting human rights and responsibility, living in harmony with the earth, and nurturing inner peace. So we also follow and subscribe to this approach. It is to develop the knowledge, skills, and attitude. And knowledge, in terms of curriculum content, it means studying issues. Skills meaning the ability to analyze, reason, communicate, express oneself, empathize, resolve conflict non-violently, and to be socially aware. And in terms of attitudes, we hope that what we are presenting to our students can help them to develop not only self-respect, but also open-mindedness, tolerance, fairness, commitment to the truth, and so on and so forth. I will do another sharing of our syllabus, one of the syllabus that we have done. This one is something that I have been using, to teach, because this is the only, Malay language syllabus that I have, because in our university, we teach in Bahasa, we teach in Malay, but also I'm also teaching at other universities, and this is syllabus from the Universiti Malaysia Sabah, where we teach the strategies and skills of conflict transformation. Usually, what we have is that we combine a number of courses together. So for myself, I have 3 courses that I normally teach at both the undergraduate level and also the postgraduate level. One is the theories and practices of peace and conflict resolution. The second one is conflict transformation and peace building. And the third one is strategies and skills of conflict transformation. So this is the third course that I'm teaching. And we connect these 3 courses together in terms of the focus. The first one will be mostly on the theories, the philosophical backgrounds. The second one will be concentrating more on transformation and peace building. And this one is on the skills of conflict transformation. And as you can see, because it is on peace, and the aspect of skills in the syllabus, we also not only discuss the backgrounds, but we also focus a lot on the practice aspects. The practice aspects, how to handle conflict situation, and the approaches that's used to address conflict situation, negotiation, peace mediation. So the students are expected not only to do the readings, but in class we also have a lot of simulation exercises that we use. I do a lot of simulation exercises because I want the students to practice, at least in class, some of the things that we are teaching them. So for example, if we are looking at negotiation, we discuss the theoretical aspects, but then I also expect them to do some simulation exercises so that they can practice or experience how to do negotiation. So we would have a lot of these practices, simulations, negotiation, on mediation. I will break them into groups, and I will ask them to mediate particular problems, and hopefully after they finish the simulation exercises, then we can discuss what is it that they have learned from that experience, and then we have that main text there. So the next thing to do is that for us here at Universiti Sains Malaysia, it's not only about teaching in class, but at the same time we want also to expose the students to what we do outside of the classroom, and that's where I use the term the dream keepers, because we look at them as keepers of the dream, keepers of the peace dream, so that even if it's something very difficult to achieve now, hopefully, with the things that we are equipping them, hopefully they can promote, these things outside. So we are strongly connected to our surrounding. We try to help out in promoting peace. We try to promote this idea of scholar practitioner, that we not only study peace, we also practice, wherever possible, whenever possible, the kind of things that we teach our students. So we have a research and education for peace unit at the university, and I've been the coordinator there since 1999. We have a research and education for peace, REPUSM, and that is the base where we do a lot of our practice activities. And we have also been the regional secretariat for the Southeast Asian Conflict Studies Network, SEACSN, since 2001 up to now, and we still do activities under this umbrella. The reason why we created the SEACSN back in 2001, formally in 2001, but we have been working since the late 1990s on this kind of issues, simply because we want to create a network where peace and conflict studies researchers and teachers can come together and to share the knowledge that we have among ourselves, and to connect with other people who are working also within this particular field. So it was used as a platform for peace and conflict study scholars in the region. Under REP USM, we have a few peace programs. We have the Mindanao Peace Program, the Aceh Peace Program, the Patani Peace Programs. These are programs at our office which focus on promoting, peace building and conflict transformation in the various conflict areas. In 2004, we also created the Aceh Institute, and the Aceh Institute was created to support peace building and conflict transformation work in Aceh by the Acehnese themselves in working in our office. And then when we have peace, then we transfer Aceh Institute back to Aceh, which is still running up to now. And some of our other programs include Consolidation for Peace program, which is to support, the 3 peace programs that we have. We also support our colleagues in Southern Thailand, Patani. We have the Southern Thailand Universities for Peace back in the mid-2000s. Started out as Southern Thailand Peace Network and then became Southern Thailand Universities for Peace with 6 universities in Southern Thailand working to do peace education in Southern Thailand. We also have a Penang Peace Learning Center, which is a school that we organize for the Rohingya refugee in Penang. And this started out because, we were doing, with Mahidol University research project on the Rohingya refugee and their situation in Malaysia. And we got some funding from that, and we decided not to use the funding for ourselves, but to create a school, because that is sorely needed for the Rohingya children, because they are not allowed to go to public schools in Malaysia. So we decided, okay, let's organize a school, and my students then contribute as volunteer teachers in that school. Kedamai is the University Peace Club. We are also affiliated with the Southeast Asian Human Rights and Peace Network, SIHUN, and as well as SHAPE-C, Strengthening Human Rights and Peace Education in Southeast Asia. And the last one, we are not really affiliated with that, but because I was the representative of Malaysia to the advisory board of the ASEAN IPR, I was able also to make some connections, with ASEAN IPR on peace education. So some of these things, you see, like, it's a lot of activities that we do. We have a small office. I have been the coordinator since 1999, and at the same time, we don't have any other staff. We don't have any other staff. Most, if not all of the activities have been carried out by our students, mostly our postgraduate students. At one time, I was supervising 20 PhD students from 9 countries, and all the activities are carried out by our students, because we expect our students to not only study the aspects of peace and conflict resolution, but also to start doing some of these things already. So many of these peace programs were actually run by our postgraduate students. The school was run by our undergraduate students who take turns in teaching the Rohingya children in Penang. So without the contributions of the students, we will not be able to do all these things. So this is to create also awareness for them about the conflict situations around the region and around us in Penang, to make them aware of the difficulties of refugees in the country and how they can contribute. And at the same time, hopefully, that third component, because peace education is knowledge, skills, and attitude, and hopefully by doing all these things, their attitude can then be improved, and the way that they see things can also be improved, and making them the dream keepers, the dream keepers of REP USM. Then I'll just show some photos of some of the activities that we've been doing. This is part of our Mindanao Peace Program. We were involved with the Mindanao People's Caucus in the early 2000s, doing research on violation of ceasefire in Mindanao. with the Bantai ceasefire. We do training with the various conflict actors and peace actors in the Philippines. This is also part of our Mindanao program. 2006, I was still young and thin and good looking. Now, not anymore. You know, so still part of the program. This is the chair of the MILF, Haji Ibrahim Murad. Consolidation for Peace Seminar. JICA, you know, this is represented by Sachiko Ishikawa, who was the representative of JICA for our program, and JICA has been, you know, funding a lot of our activities. Consolidation for Peace program as well. And when we do our Consolidation for Peace, is actually to bring the conflict actors from Mindanao, Aceh, and Southern Thailand, Patani together. You know, if you look at these photos, you know, maybe some of you will recognize, you know, some of the faces, you know, including some from Southern Thailand, some from Philippines, and so on. Consolidation for Peace program. Mindanao Educators Peace Summit, working with the MASCUF, you know, Mindanao Association of State Colleges and Universities. We brought 49 university presidents over here to discuss about how to promote peace education in the universities in Mindanao, and they came up with a declaration, and these are the university presidents, you know, that came for the summit. This is our Dream Keepers program for Southern Thailand, Patani. These are participants from 6 universities in Southern Thailand. We brought them over to Malaysia and do activities with our students, sort of like a peace camp kind of activities. And they were also part of the Dream Keepers. You know, we have this logo, Dream Keepers, and we put this Dream Keepers logo on the bags and t-shirts, and people were proudly wearing them. For many years after that, I can still see people wearing the Dream Keeper shirt in Southern Thailand, which makes me very happy. So part of the activities, we play games as well. And I remember, you know, this football game that we had the Southern Thailand Patani students playing against USM students. So the Southern Thailand students came from 6 universities. They don't know each other. So, you know, in terms of skill, I think our university students have more skills. But then I advise them before the game, you know, whatever you do, do not win. You know, because we do not want, you know, the students from Southern Thailand to be arguing with each other, the Muslim and the Buddhist, just because they lost a football game. So in the first half, you know, they managed to score 4 goals against nothing, you know, against our team. And then during halftime, one of my students came over to see me and said, look, you know, this is not good. We are good players, but we are losing 4-0. And then I said, okay, let's score some goals, but just don't win. In the end, it was 4-4, and everybody was happy. So win-win situation for everybody. So this is the school that we started in 2013 for the Rohingya students living here in Penang. These are all our students who have contributed the time as volunteers. And then I was like the headmaster there. We started small, and then we moved on, you know, to a bigger place. And then we, you know, we rented a bigger place, and we do our teaching there. There's the Penang Peace Learning Center. That's our school. The teachers are all volunteers from our university. And then every 2 weeks, we also have friends, you know, from the Hope Clinic that come and do give medical service to the Rohingya community, and we give them free medical services as well. People would come and want to contribute. So the school then became a focal point, not only for the students to contribute to the refugee communities, but also for various other groups that come in to contribute. Our students are also involved in other activities, football and futsal, theater show, some of the publications that we have, from our unit. We also do concerts. Ramli Sarip is a famous rock singer in Malaysia. I was like his backup, musician there. All my PhD students here, we always do our consultation, outside under the tree. These are also my PhD students. These are all the coordinators of the Southeast Asian Conflict Studies Network. Lambang Trijono is here also, as mentioned by Dr. Najib, who is a co-teacher in his program. And this is the SIHAN, committee members. And we do also other activities, we support the peace process in Mindanao. This one was from a meeting in Hiroshima in 2014. The late President Aquino was also there, and some other photos. Just to show that, when we do our peace education, it is useful to look at all the aspects, the educational aspects, the skills aspects, and then the experience, that we can expose our students to the kind of activities that they should be exposed in order to train them as scholar, practitioner, and also as dream keepers.
Let me explain, when I started working. The thing is, I never worked in the NGOs in Thailand before, so I don't have that much of networking of the NGOs in the very beginning when I started working in Thailand. But the thing is, when I did the research in the very beginning, so most of the research are action research. So I spent a lot of time in the villages, in the research areas. So then we also can link our work with the people in the area. And of course, when we get the research results, we can bring all those villages or the informers into into knowing our students. Very often that I brought the students into the field research with me. So that's just when I started without having any networking at all. But when I kept on working for some time, I have so many colleagues who used to be working with the NGOs and have a lot of connections with civil society networks. So when we, of course, when we do how you call that, workshops and all these things, maybe I'm not sure I was lucky or unfortunately that since I started working in Thailand, this country is totally messed up, with so many violence conflict. So there are so many groups of people or so many organizations that are engaging with the people, with the local people, addressing so many particular issues. And if those issues are related to the issues that suit the interests of our students or related to the works that we are doing the research, so then we can expand the scope of our research work into social engagement projects, and so then we do these kind of two things at the same time. That's how we built up even further network. And then with the demonstrations in the past few years, that has a very, very new circumstances that a lot of students from so many universities, especially Mahidol University, where nobody even think about that there will be a demonstration inside Mahidol University. It comes from, because we keep on teaching the undergraduate programs, and many people are interested, in all of these practices. So then we set up what we call a club, a Human Rights and Peace Club inside the university. And of course, it's a kind of loose structure that many students from many faculties still can, exchange their points of view, their knowledge. And during the curriculum time, when we just now, when I just gave only one example of presenting certain current issues. But very often at the end of the curriculum, like the few last two classes, we always have like organized like the dialogue, you know, among the students in the class. So then we let them raise their issues, the issues that they are really facing by themselves, you know, regarding studying, regarding the policies of the university or the policy of the community around. And then we use that. And then at certain point, we produce some papers, you know, some kind of like a very short paper, and try to use those things, try to deliver all those things to the responsible organizations or the departments in order that they might be able to solve some confronting problems. So then many of the students realize that, you know, to come to take this class is certainly benefit them in certain points. So then this is the thing that we create, how you call that, the quite very good reputation among undergraduate students. So then when the time comes, when the situations around are quite suitable, so then they join together, they organize demonstrations, and of course we participate in the following events from that point. So some of those things have not been decided, but it just comes from, you know, from several consequences.
Yes, for us here in Penang, we always try to make, you know, the learning experience as open as possible, with many examples, expose them, you know, to the individuals and groups who are doing all these things. So we always invite people, you know, from NGOs or activists to come and give lectures and expose our students to what's going on outside, because, you know, whatever you learn in the textbook is not necessarily all there is, or not necessarily true even, you know. So we need to be able to, you know, to know more, you know, what happened in real life, in practice. So that's why when we have our theories and practices of conflict resolution, I will tell them that, first of all, from the very beginning, look, you can read the books, but don't believe everything that you read, you know, because not everything is true, you know. So that's why, you know, we always challenge them to ask questions, and then we also, you know, allow a lot of space for them, you know. My experience is that, you know, we try to make learning as not only as open as possible, but also as fun as possible. Fun meaning we need to think like them. And sometimes, you know, I mean, of course, you know, we used to be students, but now we are older, you know, more, not necessarily more matured. Some of us are just older, you know, not necessarily have wisdom. We forgot that learning need to be fun as well. And fun for students would be going on field trips, for example, doing exposure trips. So most of my students, if they go through my class, at least during the course of their students, we will take them, you know, for at least 1 or 2 field trips to visit conflict areas. Before we went to Aceh, we went to Patani, you know, we went to conflict. Sometimes they are worried, or their family is worried, you know, but then I told them, well, that's part and parcel of being, you know, a scholar practitioner. You know, you if you want to practice, you know, you have to endure some of these issues. You have to get your hands dirty, and you need to go there, talk to the people. So these kind of things are always very popular with the students, and a lot of activities in class. The way the way I do my class, sometimes I think the students even find it very intimidating, because here in Malaysia, when you go to school, you are expected just to sit and listen, write notes and all these things. But I give my students a lot of time. I challenge them to give opinions. I challenge them to ask questions. to the point that some of them the quiet ones especially, feel very worried coming to my class because they know they will have to answer questions. You challenge them, but then when you do these things, after a while they get used to it. Then a lot of discussions, and we do a lot of exercises. So learning is fun as well. The practical part is always there. And then other things, like other activities, music, we have concerts, we invite band to come to the university. We do a lot of singing, and barbecue and all those things, so learning is supposed to be fun. And you will be surprised that if given the chance, I think, and given the platform, a lot of these students can be very creative and very open in the way that they look at things. For example, we started a peace club, and we were worried what's going to happen, if they are going to do anything with the club, if we just allow them to do. And it actually worked. They did a lot of activities, with the peace club.
Yeah, when listening to Sam, I just have like a one short example. When I was working with the Institute of Human Rights and Peace Studies, we organized what we call youth camp to teach human rights and peace, at least in the past more than 12 years, I guess. And of course, there are several generations of kids, taking into this camp. Some have developed themselves to be trainers. We have but the thing is it is becoming a joke right now that let's say many of them that has been passing through the youth camp right now are facing charges with these political issues, and at the same time many of them have been the lawyers of the human rights lawyers groups. So then I said, so this is the benefit of being in this youth camp. So then you can, when you commit, convicted by this, being charged, so then you can have friends to at least to bail you out, or to help you with the court cases. But this is a kind of, okay, for them it becoming a joke, but I think this is the benefit of what I mentioned earlier in the morning, that it's a kind of long-term engagement. And if you want to see the result, you need to wait for 10 years at least to see what's going to happen with this extra curriculum activities.
Personally, I think if you have time to put them into 2 courses would be useful, because you can go deeper into the discussion. But of course, there need to be a connection between these two, because, if you look at the first course, for example, you would have discussed already the conceptual framework, the theories and all those things. And these are also necessary to do the second one, which is on negotiation and mediation. So there must be some connections between the 2 courses if you are doing it separately. Also, possibly there must be a sequencing. People need to take the theories course first before they do the more practice-oriented course, which is negotiation and mediation, and maybe have the first course as a prerequisite. But if you cannot do both 2 courses, combining them all into one is also okay, given maybe limitations with time and space and the number of courses that are being offered in any program, but there's always a sequencing. When we do the teaching, we always look at the theories, the concept first before going to the actual cases, and learning from these cases. Achan Eakpant, you have any inputs, or Achan Yukiko?
Yeah, yes, because I think like most Yukiko and I used to teach the same course, conflict and security, but in the PhD level. The thing is because of the background that you said that you are teaching IR, when we discuss of the conflict and security or peace and security in the IR, mostly in the first part, mostly are theoretical and seeing like the relationships between states, you know, like the state actors and how to maintain how you call that traditional security and current, you know, modern security issues. So then I agree with Sam that it is better if you separate these two courses, because negotiation is something that has a very much different approach, you know, because like the first part of the theoretical thing, it's a little bit difficult to link with the negotiation, except you just proceed into the conflict between states and just focus on the negotiation on the how you call it in interstates issues. So then that would be limited the negotiation notions into just only for the IR. But if you want to go in deeper with the negotiation, I prefer that it is they should be separated. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, thank you. Achan Yukiko, you have anything?
Yeah, I agree that it's ideal to separate the two so that deeper lecture can be given. But if it is necessary to combine, if I were you, I would do a sandwich approach. First, do the conceptual, but in the middle of the course, spend more time for practice, practical issue negotiation, conflict resolution. But at the end, come back to the concept theory, particularly peace, because after doing those negotiation, conflict resolution parts, they may develop their own idea, and they have, you know, they will think what it is at the heart of those approaches. So I would employ sandwich course structure. Thank you.
I agree with Yukiko that that because the thing is like if it is basically the theoretical, I mean mostly the theory course, you know, the thing is like if you incorporate negotiation into peace and security, which basically the theory class, it should be some kind of the practical that I already mentioned, that should be like some kind of practical of negotiation between the state actors or between the, you know, the conflict between states. Because if you want to incorporate the negotiation and pave the negotiation, you know, class by going back into the theoretical things, you know, you have to go further a lot more like game theory and all these kind of stuff. So then that I don't think that is you have enough time for, you know, like for, you know, for one semester to fill this with both theories and the practice.
Okay, thank you, Eakpant. I mean, for me, actually, I have the luxury of 3 semesters to be teaching, you know, the subject. So I mean, I start with the theories and practices for conflict resolution, and then this would be the core course that everybody would have to take before they can take any other courses. And we use this as a prerequisite. And there would be students that wanted to take the strategy and skills course without taking that one. I said, no, you know, because we have a prerequisite. You take this one first this semester, and then next semester you can take the other courses. And I'm always very strict, you know, about that, because I do not want to be bogged down with having to discuss again the basics, you know, when I want to move forward to discuss more specific other issues. But I have that kind of luxury. I know that some universities only have one course that they can offer for peace studies or peace education class, and then you have to squeeze everything. And then again, you know, it's a matter of sequencing.
I would say, well, peace study itself is not, for me, pure science, but it's an art. It is us who design, depending on the context that you are in, as part of the member of the society community. So I must say, it is you. Now you have knowledge and there's some kind of practical, stories in this course. So now it is you who design creatively, having different understanding knowledge that we throw in this session, and perhaps you digest it and observe your society, and as part of the member, you create it. So what I call art is, there's no fixed format, unfortunately, but we have a kind of core element as we did in this course. So you can pick up some of the core element, but overall design can be done by you who know the society the most. That's how I always say.
Yeah, I totally agree with Achan Yukiko. I'm sorry, you have to design your own program based on the context of the situation that you have. Education is not only formal learning, it's also informal learning, and informal learning needs also a different approach. We cannot ask our participants when we do a training for NGO activists to be, looking at, theories and concepts and all these things too much, but then to do more in terms of practice, practice simulations and all those things, So design the course whatever way you want to design according to your needs, according to your own context, and there is no wrong answer. I find it interesting, that actually you use the correct negotiation approach, which is to question, absolutism. If people say no, you have to question no. If you say, everything is bad, question those things, so that's a good approach, It depends also on our own particular context and our own leanings. Security studies, we'd always say that we study the same thing, we teach the same thing, but from the security perspective. But they also discuss issues like conflict, interstate conflict, security, and all those things. In Malaysia, for a long time, there have been two schools of thought. Universiti Kebangsaan, the National University, they also teach political science, the same way that our university teach political science. For many years, it's only these two universities with political science faculty. But the way that we teach and the way that they teach are different. And our participants or our students are also different, in the sense that, if you look at it from the international relations perspective, the way that they teach is more from the realist school of thought, security studies and national security and all those things. And they've got more people from the security background, military, police, that would go and do their master's and PhD over there, because that's the approach that they are taking. They would not come to our university because we will be more liberalist, idealist perspective, looking at the same subject from a slightly different approach. And we have peace studies as part of the program. So most people that would come to our faculty would be either university lecturers, with peace and studies background, or NGO activists, civil society organizations, and they will come to our university. So you have one subject but different angles, So it's just natural. I think it's natural depending on how we see and how we approach the subject. And in regards to our particular training for this one, yes, I'm sorry we did not have time to look at, interstate issues and development-related conflict and so on. The reason being is that we only have 2 weeks. We add another 2 more weeks, probably we can discuss some of these things, but we need to go and do other things as well. So our apologies. If you want to look at some of this, refer to the source book, the chapter by Azca and Yukiko, chapter 3, managing conflict, actually, does look at interstate issues and some of the, mechanisms, and also chapter 7, on regional mechanisms to address interstate issues. So these two actually are covering, the angle that you want.